Hi viewers, so I am your host Sama once again, and your sports banter crew is back after a little break. So lately we couldn't make videos because all of us were busy with life and stuff. So Nofal was traveling to China to China from US, and Fraz was probably busy with his personal stuff. But finally we are back and up and running. So this one would be a football podcast, and this one would be the fifth edition of football podcast. So lastly, we discussed the final match of Euros 2024, and as you remember, Spain won the Euros. And after that, although we intended to cover Copa America as well and the Olympics as well, but unfortunately, due to the time constraints and the uh, ongoing activities in life, we couldn't cover those. But now we are back and we'll begin with the official preview of Premier League season 2024 to 2025. So although the season has began, the first match week is already done, but still it's the very early part of the season. So in this podcast, we will go ahead to discuss some of the major signings made by the top six clubs. And apart from that, we will discuss the prospects of the Premier League title winning for Manchester City, Arsenal, and to some extent Liverpool as well. And apart from that, from these topics, of course, we will give the journal predictions for the top five because obviously the second, third, and the fourth spot they also matter a lot as far as the Champions League and the Europa League spots are concerned. So without any further delay, although you know my crew, my boys, so but still I'll introduce them once again. So on top left, we have Faraz Tukir with us, and on bottom we have Mr. Nofil all the way from America. Hi boys, welcome back. So before I get into the questions, so just a quick one. So, are you guys excited for the new season? How are the feelings right now?
I'm feeling great, especially with the signing today. Gundogan is coming back to Manchester City, and he's a treble-winning captain, and hopefully he's gonna lead us to another treble. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. But he's been treated like shit in Barca because Barca doesn't know what the fuck what they're trying to do. So I'm glad he's coming back, and I'm really hopeful for. Even though we didn't make a lot of signings, the signings that we made are amazing. So I'm really excited to defeat Arsenal one more time and have them hold the second spot for us. So yeah, that's my.
Is their talisman Gundogan? He's coming back, and obviously 2 years back, he was superb for Manchester City before he signed for Barcelona. So, does this feel like a danger or a reduction in chances of Arsenal winning the league, or you feel like it's just a feel-good signing, as you mentioned a couple of hours ago?
Yeah, I was just teasing him a few hours ago uh, because I feel like this is they just signed him for the vibes. But honestly, I read something about it somewhere that Barca still had to pay some part of the fee of Ferran Torres that they bought from City a couple of seasons ago. So maybe because they need to sell a couple of players before they register a new one, so maybe that's why they let go of Gundogan right now, and as well as Wow Felix. So I just do think yes, Gundogan still had has some a couple of more seasons in him to perform at the highest level, and so yeah.
Okay, so guys, we will of course come back towards this Arsenal versus Manchester City rivalry later on in the podcast. But now I would like to focus on the specific club that has been spending billions and billions on players, and they were specifically labeled as the billion-pound bottle jobs by Gary Neville last season when they got battered against Liverpool badly. So I'm of course talking about the blue side of the London, Chelsea. So Nofil, this is my question for you. So obviously Chelsea has been signing young players with huge potential on moderate or you can say high fees. And so far, this strategy hasn't been working on, has worked on. So do you think that this strategy would work up in future, or do you feel like it's gonna end up as a huge failure and they'll be ending up with potentially a huge number of players who aren't that much good for the highest level of football or mediocre players?
I mean, it's definitely going to end up as a huge failure. It already is a failure, to be honest. Because right now, if you just Google how many people there are in the Chelsea squad, there's 54 people right now on contract, and a few of them are on loan, and then 46 people are available for the first team. 46 people for one squad. There's 11 people in a squad. 33. You can get three, even four teams out of that. I don't know what they're doing. They're just buying new people, giving them huge contracts, and they're not waiting and developing the players that they already have. I feel like all of this blame lies on the ownership and the management because they're not letting one coach stay for more than one season. They had Pochettino, they got rid of him in a year. Before that, they got rid of the coach in a year too. I don't know how they're gonna do with the Enzo. I don't know Esco. I don't know his name, but I know him as a budget Pep because he's like the small version of Pep, right? So that's what he is. But hopefully they stick with him for at least 2 to 3 years because they need to give those players and those coaches to develop with those players and get a report going. Pochettino was doing pretty good at the end of the season. He was kind of getting into the flow, even though Chelsea isn't wasn't where it should be as a club, but he was getting somewhere. But they got rid of him at the end. So I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the management is doing. They just keep on buying players. You know, when in FIFA Career Manager, you're playing the game, right? And you just keep on buying players because you don't want other teams to have them. That's literally what it is. So if I go back home and I turn on my PlayStation and I look up the Career Manager, it's gonna look exactly like Chelsea squad right now because I have a lot of players that I just don't want to sell, and I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the ownership is doing. Players are getting the money; they're enjoying their life, so they're just chilling and sitting on the bench. If you want to be a real player and you want time, it's gonna be hard for you, except if you're a top performing player like Cole Palmer. For some reason, Cucurella gets in there too. He's a decent player, even though Holland and all that stuff is going on. But they need to at least keep a coach for some time, 2 to 3 years, and they gotta stop on the transfers. Like, how many more people do you need, man? You want to sign the whole prem? Like, what's going on?
Okay, so for us, Nofel made a couple of good points. So obviously, one of them was that they are signing so many players, and obviously these players need time to develop. And secondly, Nofil has been critical of the fact that Chelsea has been firing managers over over the period of time where they don't get enough time to establish their style of play or get through a consistent team. So obviously there are a couple of problems in this whole approach. But my specific question coming towards you is that okay, so Nofil quoted around about like 46 or maybe 50 players that were in the Chelsea squad currently, that are in the Chelsea squad currently. So
Exactly. There's 54 players. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So at one point, only 11 players can start your game, okay? And probably you can have like 7 to 8 on the bench or in the substitutes. So maybe at max you can say like, okay, 20 players are those players that you actually feel like you'll be using them somewhere during the season, either as a first team player or subs or those squad players who play in the league matches or like the lower tier matches. So there are like at max 20 or maybe 22 players that will be utilized. But what about the rest of the 28 players? So where are they going to go? And also another fact that they are giving those long 6 years, 7 years, 8 year contracts. So how are they going to dispose of? And this is my first question, that how are they going to clear up this mess in case this doesn't works up in future? And my second question from you is that okay, you need a you need a clear up later on. I mean, you need to remove all those players. So currently, we have seen in terms of Gallagher that he has been been kind of outcasted from club, or maybe you can say forced out of club. And similarly, you have the likes of maybe Chukwuemeka, who is also being forced out of club. And recently, there was this Raheem Sterling situation where his agents, or you can say his PR team, just came out around half an hour or an hour ago before the match against I don't know who they were playing. So yeah, Manchester City, and they were like that they need clarity on whether Sterling really is part of Enzo Maresca's plans, or he's just outcasted, or he won't be playing again. So here are my two questions from you: that how do you think, in case this whole project doesn't works out, how do you think the clear up would be done? And secondly, from a player point of view, how bad is it is to be dumped off once you find out that okay, you aren't part of this project, even though you performed on a good level or a fairly good level previously.
Yeah, so firstly, as Nofil, I guess he summed it up well. Earlier today, I guess in the press conference as well, they asked Enzo Maresca about the fact that they have around 40 plus players uh, at their helm at the moment, but he replied back saying that he is only dealing with the 22 players who are training with him currently. So I guess that's a lot of huge pressure on the manager as well, and he doesn't really have much experience, managerial experience in him. I believe he only had a year before this with Leicester, and as you just mentioned that most some of the players who even performed well last year, I guess Conor Gallagher was one of their best players last season, and now he's not in the manager's plan because maybe he isn't suited to his style of play. So I think it's a very confusing situation as a player as well, because a new manager comes in and suddenly you're not even in their plans, despite of the fact that you performed well in the previous season. So the clear out, I guess most of the responsibility lies on the owner. We still have, I guess, a week to go before the transfer deadline. I'm not sure if they can offload all of the players, but uh, I guess maybe they'll send some people on loan, like Sterling and the likes of Lukaku, Madueke, Disasi, etc. And apart from that, you made a valid point that giving off big contracts to most of their players, and if they don't perform at such a level, and if there is an uncertainty throughout the the tenure of Todd Bowley, uh, with the manager sacking every other season, then I think this will also backfire eventually if this uncertainty keeps on uh, going.
Okay, for
I
us.
feel like,
Yes.
sorry, I just want to add something. I feel like if Ten Hag, a coach like Ten Hag can stay over whatever the mess he made last season, you can keep a Chelsea coach. Like Pochettino wasn't doing as bad as Ten Hag, and Ten Hag, they kept Ten Hag. So I don't know what's going on with the ownership, but they gotta take some responsibility and keep a coach for more than a season, man. Like,
Also, Novel, earlier in your response, you mentioned that what Chelsea is doing, it almost feels like the career mode on the FIFA. So my problem
exactly.
is that if you are doing so somewhere out there you are hurting the spirit of the sport. I mean, you are buying in players, okay, and you aren't ready to like put in effort to genuinely put up a cohesive team. Okay, you are like, okay, we'll just try to buy good players and we'll hope that okay, they'll work out, they'll just gel in. So personally, I feel like that this is how it works. I mean, obviously, buying good players, top quality players, it takes money, and the clubs that have the money, they should buy them, they should improve. But doing it in such a manner that okay, I am buying a 30 million pound player. If he works for 6 months or a year, well and good. If it doesn't, let's just dump him. So I don't think this is
Yeah,
football. This just hurts the spirit of the sport itself. So somewhere out there, the FA or Football Association of England, they have to see that how they can stop such horrendous kind of signing. I mean, somewhere it has to stop. Else, in a few years' time, the football would become so like unpredictable. Like players would be coming in, they'd be going out, and there would be no check and balance. I mean, okay, if you are working out in like 4 to 5 months, well and good. Otherwise, goodbye, you are dumped. So this is a problem I have with Chelsea and their approach, and I really hope that either they intentionally stop doing this, because obviously there are two parts to it. I mean, the football itself is being hurt, and secondly, the players who come in, their careers are legit at stake. I mean, some of those players might not even be able to reselect their careers later on after the wrong decisions they made. Because obviously, if you look at the likes of these players, I mean, Omari, Kellyman, Tosin, Mark Guehi, Philip Jorgensen, and even Pedro Neto. I mean, these players are signing for the club, and obviously they'll be getting, if not lucrative, decent contracts. Okay, but still, none of them has any kind of assurance. I mean, apart from Pedro Neto, none of them has any assurance that okay,
Mm.
in 6 months' time or in a year's time, you would be somewhere close to first team, or let's say in the first in the second team. There's absolutely no assurance. So this is my problem with Chelsea. So moving on from Chelsea, the next topic I would like to discuss is that uh, Nofel, you just discussed that Manchester United, they are persisting with Ten Hag. So do you feel like that was the correct decision, or they should have moved on from Ten Hag?
I feel like they should have gotten rid of Ten Hag a long time ago, to be honest. The only reason I feel like they've kept Ten Hag on is because they won the FA Cup and they won it. I don't know like how they won it, but they won it. So I feel like that's the only reason why they've kept Ten Hag. And if he lost that final, then they would have dumped him. But in my opinion, he should have been gone a long time ago because that person does not know how to manage a team and basically motivate them to work out and then basically form a cohesive team that can win games. I don't know. Maybe he had good history at Ajax. He was a good manager there, but I don't know what happened when he came to the Prem. And like we've all known his little fights with Ronaldo, Sancho, and I'm pretty sure he has other issues too with other players. But as a manager, you can't be doing that with players. Like, come on, if you're gonna be having an issue like that with a player, you either get rid of the player or you basically sit the manager down and talk to him about it. I feel like that manager is not gonna take United to the level that they want to, and they're gonna go from a top level team to a mid table team, which they already are. They were last season, and there's gonna be no improvement. Sancho is back. Hopefully, he can work some magic, but I feel like there's gonna be one bad game, and then Ten Hag's gonna start blaming other players like Sancho, and then they're gonna have a falling out. So he should have been gone a long time ago. I don't know what United is doing. Winning the FA Cup was just luck. The final was just luck. So that I am completely against it.
Okay, okay. So for us, Nofel spoke up against Ten Hag. Obviously, we have seen his deficiencies as a coach and as a manager over the course of the years. As far as coaching is concerned, he has been there for like 3 years now, and still we don't see a recognizable style at Manchester United. I mean, at the end, they are just playing like slightly less super ultra counter-attacking football at best. Like what we were supposed to see from Ten Hag, we didn't see that up until now, and still it's not there. And from a manager's perspective, managing perspective, obviously Nofel mentioned the Jadon Sancho situation, and before that even Cristiano Ronaldo as well. So he wasn't able to handle those situations in a manner that they should have been handled. So moving on from these, so if we look at the summer signings of Manchester United, okay, Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna, then Lenny Yoro, then Johnny Evans, Master Johnny Evans, Matthias de Ligt, and Nasser Mazraoui. So obviously, again, maybe we can say that Matthias de Ligt, he is one of those world class players. Although I feel like he failed to live up to the hype at Bayern Munich. But apart from that, once again, all of the players, excluding Johnny Evans, they are like potential players. Mazraoui, of course, he is experienced, but again, he isn't someone like a wide-beating fullback or one of those top fullbacks. Obviously, he might suit Ten Hag's style, but still not. So how do you rate Manchester United's summer business? This is my first question from you, and second question would be that so Ten Hag has signed like five or six Ajax players. I mean, Lisandro Martinez, Matthias de Ligt, Mazraoui, and then Anthony, and then there's another one as well. So, do you feel like this is a justified strategy, or managers should avoid buying their previous club players?
Yeah, so looking into their summer transfers, I guess last season United were a bit unlucky with injuries, especially at the back, which is why I guess the board and uh, the upper management at United gave Ten Hag the benefit of doubt, and he also won them the FA Cup. Yeah, considering the signings, I believe De Ligt and Mazraoui are decent additions. Mazraoui can play both at right back and left back, and Lenny Oro is also. They also compare him with Saliba, and they they.
Why
So
not?
yeah, he has high potential, but yeah, we'll see how he fares in the Premier League once he gets back from his injury. And I was also, you noticed a good point that I was also thinking the same that Ten Hag has signed most of his former players, the ones that played with him with him under under him at Ajax. So I'm not sure if this is a valid strategy or not, but I believe he's probably thinking that most of them have played under his system, so they probably uh, will have a better idea uh, to play under him right now. So maybe that's why he signed most of the players that played under him at Ajax.
But the thing is, he's also 50-50 on that. Like
Yeah,
Martinez, he signed, he's a good player. I agree. And he performs good. But Anthony, ever since he's come to United, he has been complete, absolute trash.
yeah,
And that dude is just a joke, and everybody makes memes of him. So, like, it's 50-50. Like, let's see how the third signing goes. But as of right now, it seems like 50% his plan is working. We'll see.
yeah.
Okay, boys. Let's come towards the next club, next big club. It's Liverpool. And obviously, it's the only club in the top English division that has failed to sign any player so far. They have been close to a couple of signings, and one of them is Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. And apart from that, they are in the discussions for Mamardashvili, the Georgian keeper from Valencia. But even he isn't confirmed yet. So as of now, Liverpool haven't signed any player. So, Nofil, what do you think that will the lack of signings come back to haunt Liverpool later on in the season? And will
Um,
their approach for going for picture perfect signings that fill their jigsaw puzzle and not taking any sort of risk in the transfer market, is this approach
mhm.
or will this approach backfire?
I feel like Liverpool right now is a pretty solid team, to be honest. They have good CDMs. They had pretty good signings last season. Right now, I feel like, in my opinion, they don't need a player. Right? They have a good striker. I mean, Darwin Nunes is getting there slowly. He's getting there, getting to a point where he can perform good. They have Gakpo for a striker. Luis Diaz as a winger. They have one of the best center backs, and they have a really good CDM. I forgot his name. He's Argentinian. What's his name? I forgot his name.
McAllister.
McAllister.
Yeah, like he's a really good player. Right now, I mean, Allison is one of the best goalkeepers. I don't know how he's doing with age. He's still performing pretty good, and he starts for Brazil too.
31. He has got plenty of years.
Exactly. There you go. So I mean, right now I feel like Liverpool just needs to be consistent with their performance. Overall, it's a really good team. They just need to. It's still one of the best teams. I still agree, and they can definitely give competition to Arsenal. With City, I mean, come on, it's City, so you can't really compete. But all jokes aside, for sure they can be if they keep their consistency, they can end up as a top three, maybe even second, maybe first. Who knows what happens? But like we all remember, Liverpool had a really good run until the end, and then they just stopped performing. So hopefully they keep their performance, but I don't think they need a. I don't think they're looking. They need a really good signing right now. They're not lacking of anything. But you would definitely know a lot more because you're a Liverpool supporter. So what do you think about that?
So personally, I believe that the first team squad that is probably somewhere near Arsenal. I won't consider it equal to Manchester City because obviously Manchester City has that one defining player, or you can say the player that makes a difference, and he's Rodri. So we don't have any answer for Rodri at this point in time. So I can only say that at best they are equivalent to Arsenal, their first team. But when it comes to the second team, I believe that Liverpool are severely lacking in terms of depth because currently we don't have a proper, or you can say a world-class CDM. Okay, McAllister has been playing there. He's versatile, he can perform there. We have Wataru Endo as well. And in the first match, Ryan Gravenberch, he performed extremely well. But McAllister and Gravenberch, they aren't like your like true central defensive midfielders. Like I mean, they like to play slightly further ahead on the pitch. So we are lacking a DM, but obviously these boys can cover. But the major problem that I said is that we don't have a formidable second team. Let's say that Mo Salah gets injured during the season at some point, although he has been very consistent. But again, we can never be sure about injuries. And in case he gets injured, we don't have another right winger in our team. So that's one very important region where we are lacking. And similarly, when it comes to center backs, once again, if we talk about the first choice center back pairing, Virgil van Dijk and Konate or Kwanzaa, that's a pretty decent center back pairing, and they can be on par with the center back pairing of City and Arsenal. But if Van Dijk gets injured, then the same center back pairing or Liverpool's defense goes miles below. So that's the difference in quality right now between the first team and second team, and that's one thing that I feel could hamper Liverpool's season because obviously this season we are going to have the extended Champions League format, the new Champions League format, and obviously coupled with the likes of League Cup and FA Cup, there are going to be a lot of games. Potentially, a player can possibly play like 65 games if a team fights the quadruple. So there's a lot of matches. So personally, I believe that Liverpool will challenge City and Arsenal up until a certain point in the season, but there would come a point where they will run out of the gas. And secondly, coupled with this, they now have a new coach Arne Slot. So obviously, he has done a good job in Netherlands. And watching out the first game, I was pretty much impressed with how Liverpool played. But still, I feel like this is pretty much a Jurgen Klopp team. I mean, they need to adjust on the spot because even against the Ipswich Town team, they played a poor first half where the team looked pretty much disgruntled in the first half. It was only in the second half where we saw glimpses of the slot football. So I believe that Liverpool would finish third. I don't think that they'd be able to stay up with the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City. So I've answered your question, Mofel. So Faraz, now my next question from you. So there's one transfer strategy that Liverpool has. I mean, they do all the scouting. They try to find the best possible player for their case. And on the other hand, we have Chelsea who are like just throwing away money on players that let's see that which one works out. So which approach do you think is good one? And if you feel like we could make a hybrid approach, what would it be?
No, I guess Liverpool, out of all the top clubs, has been really sensible. They have tackled the transfer windows over the years quite sensibly over the past few years, and I'm a huge fan of their recruitment process. And I don't think it's even if today they haven't signed anyone, I still believe they are a top team. As you said, that the lineup is quite good, but if you consider the squad depth, I guess they do need a couple of more additions to bolster their squad if they want to challenge for the title. So I do like Liverpool's approach as far as the transfer signings are concerned, uh, because this also affects the financial fair play, uh, as you know. So I guess Liverpool's approach is quite sustainable uh, and really good.
So, boys, now I would like to bring our attention towards another London club, and that's Tottenham Hotspurs. So, just briefly telling about their last season. So, obviously, Ange Postecoglou took over from Mauricio Pochettino, and he was able to perform fairly well in the first season. And obviously, Harry Kane left as well after a couple of wonderful years at Spurs. But still, the pundits considered, or the large portion of football fans considered that they had a fairly good football season. But obviously, that was down to the fact that Harry Kane had left, and Spurs were in a kind of transition mode. Now they had that first transition season, and obviously this season they would be expected to take, if not a huge leap, maybe a partially huge leap. So, Nofil, here's my question from you. So, do you see Spurs making any progress from where they were last season, or you're gonna see them finish like in a similar position, like fifth or sixth, or maybe
I feel
fourth?
like it's hmm I feel like it's gonna be the same thing, to be honest. They'll do good for some games, and then after that, they're just gonna lose gas, and then they're just gonna take their foot off the pedal. Like I feel like it's they performed decent last season, and there was promise when Ange came through that hey, this team is gonna do something, and they had somewhat of a good run. But then after that, I don't know what happened. They just stopped performing, and they just became what we all know Spurs does at the end, even without Harry Kane. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything good this season. They're still going to last fourth, fifth. And the thing about Spurs is that their team is all right. They have really good defense. Their strikers, of course, need work. Uh, what do you call it? I forgot that pigeon's name. I don't know. I can't remember his name. But, like, come on, you need a good,
Richarlison.
decent yeah, Richarlison. Yeah, they have really good midfield. They have Son, which is amazing, who's an amazing player. But the thing about Spurs that concerns me is Ange himself. Like, I feel like he is a passionate person, but at some point of the match, it feels like he's gonna have a stroke. Like he looks so stressed. And if you watch the last match, at the end where Hardy, the king, scored the header, and Tottenham, I think they had a really clear chance and they missed it. The dude just like uh, went down and he was just like breathing hella heavily, and you thought that he was gonna have a heart attack. Like, come on, man, you gotta relax, you gotta come into the game with a calm mind, and you gotta show that to the teams. I feel like his strategy is just yelling at players and making them afraid of you so they perform better. Like, that doesn't work. This is the top level Premier League. Like, come on, you can't have managers just like yelling at your players all the time. They're not kids anymore. So I feel like he needs to relax a little bit. Even with his interviews, he seems like he's always grumpy. He's always mad. Come on, like, you're a good manager. I know he has confidence in himself, but he needs to chill out a little bit, and maybe his team will start performing better because they know there's nobody in the back who's going to yell at them all the time. So I don't think there's going to be any improvement.
Okay, so for us, Nofil had this interesting take on Ange Postecoglou, and I definitely agree with some of his points. So I have seen him being like passive aggressive in a couple of interviews where he just isn't saying directly, but still he is like taunting his players that okay, this was the fault, and obviously on the byline we see him not in a very good mood more often. It's more like he's stressed out and depressed. Look at what's happening and all. And to be honest, Spurs job isn't like the hardest of jobs in the world. I mean, there are expectations, but it's not like you have to deliver a trophy season in, season out. I mean, if you win, well and good, but if you can't win, it's not like in the case of like the likes of Barcelona, United, Liverpool, Arsenal, it's not like a proper chaos. So for us, coming up towards the next question for you, so here are the Tottenham Hotspur signing. So if you look at the signings, they haven't gone for any big name. I mean, one of those top-notch names. So obviously they have signed Dominic Solanke, and he had a superb season for Bournemouth last season. He scored 19 goals, and apart from that, they have signed Timo Werner, Archie Gray. Archie Gray is a huge potential player, but on paper, personally to me, this doesn't look like a huge or good piece of business. So what's your say on this?
Yeah, I personally think that Solanke signing could make a little difference. I did watch the first match and he got a lot of chances. He was unable to convert them, but I think if uh, Spurs keep on creating these chances and if he converts most of them, uh, then I guess it would be a really good signing. And I think Solanke, I believe, is the only proper out and out striker. Although they do have Timo Werner and Richarlison as well, but I believe Solanke is the more of a proper number nine, and they were missing part in their lineup last season. So I think that he might have a little impact this time. And personally, I enjoy watching Tottenham as a neutral fan. But Nofil's point was right there, but that they run out of gas at times and they concede the odd goal, which obviously makes them drop points.
Okay, boys. So now we are done discussing individual clubs and their signings. So obviously, the final part of this preview podcast is that we have to come towards the predictions. So let's not fool ourselves. The top two teams in the division currently are Arsenal and City. And obviously, since Klopp has left, so the top two managers, or you can say the highest quality game that would be probably on display in Premier League this season would be definitely City versus Arsenal once again. And to be honest, I expect both of these clubs to take the top two spots. Now coming towards the big question, who's gonna get that top spot, and what are those points, or you can say those break points where the title's gonna be decided. So coming towards you, Nofil, first of all, so what's your say on this one? Who's gonna win the
Of
Premier?
course, of course, I'm gonna say it's gonna be Manchester City winning the league. But if I take a more neutral stance, then Arsenal, I feel like has more of a chance than it did last season, because last season they were really close. It went till the last game, and that's how we won the Prem. I feel like they have that hunger, which I feel like in Manchester City at this point we are kind of lacking, because right now we're not sure if Pep is going to stay another season or not. And we're just the players, they've done everything. They've broken the record of winning Prem 4 times in a row. And they don't have that hunger that they had in the treble season. But maybe Gundogan coming back was something that I was thinking in the morning, that Gundogan came back and maybe he's going to bring that hunger with him, and he's going to have the City players work a little more extra like they did in the treble season and perform as good as they did back then, and basically take the first spot again. But again, still, I feel like Arsenal is very exciting to watch. I went and I watched an Arsenal friendly game too at like the summer season, what do you call it, preseason, against Manchester United, and they had amazing form. They brought the whole first team, so I got to see cross. I mean, everybody except Saka, I saw. So it was an amazing match, and they played with great fire. I feel like Arsenal has a really good chance of winning the Prem this season if City drops points, and if they don't perform as good as they do in the last end of the season. But still, Arsenal, in my opinion, they are still lacking that forward quality that they need. Like they have Kai Havertz, who is a good player, and he gets goals through his scruffy play. They have Saka too. Saka is good, but like how many games is he gonna play? And we all know the Saka limp when he does every time he shoots a bad shot, he just starts getting that limp. Oh, that I'm injured or whatever. So you can't just rely on one person. But Odegaard is an amazing player, and I really like him. I feel like Arsenal is going to give City a really tough time this coming season. If they win, I wouldn't be that mad. If they win with and they perform really good, I wouldn't be mad. But of course, my vote goes out to City. But if Arsenal wins, I'm not mad. I'm not mad about that.
So for us, Nofil obviously has his choice being a Manchester City fan, and on paper, if we still see, I believe that City does has the better team, but obviously winning title just isn't down to how you perform on the pitch. It's not down to the fact that what is your mental state. And if you are a City fan right now, not a City fan, if you're a City player, where you have won a quadruple as well, then back-to-back four titles as well, and then the much coveted Champions League as well. So this current crop of players has pretty much achieved everything possible or everything that was out there. The likes of Ruben Dias, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Erling Haaland. So, what do you feel like? So, is this finally Arsenal's chance, or do you feel like somewhere during the season City would get that typical City spark and they would once again go on a run and Arsenal would falter?
Yeah, I still believe that City has a more complete squad. Arsenal lack a bit of depth in their attacking options. We don't really have, I won't say like to like replacement of Saka, but we don't really have any kind of decent backup for Saka. And also, I believe that we can't rely on Havertz and Jesus in for the center forward options unless Havertz has a really good season. So yeah, all in all, I believe that Arsenal lack a bit of depth on the attacking part of the football scene. And apart from this, I also think that Liverpool, if all of their most of their players line in their lineup stay fit, then they also do have an chance. Uh, but yeah, City have a more complete squad. I don't know if they are motivated again to win again, but I guess it'll go down to the wire again between these three clubs.
So, Nofil, I would come back towards you. So, obviously, there's this player, Julian Alvarez, who was Haaland's backup at Manchester City, and he's performed fairly well for City. And obviously, he was part of Argentina setup as well. And Argentina won the World Cup and subsequently Copa America, and his stocks uh, rose up to a point that he was sold for like 95 million euros to Atletico Madrid. So, do you think that City needs a Haaland backup right now? Because obviously, again, season's going to be a long one. I personally feel like Haaland's going to play minimum 50 games if he stays healthy. But obviously, there could be injuries during the season. You never know when it happens. So, do you feel like in case Haaland gets injured, City has adequate backup, or do City needs to go into the market and find a suitable signing? And it won't be easy because obviously whosoever comes in, he would know that he's going to be the backup for Haaland. He won't ever replace
Mm,
the first team. So
yeah.
do you think City would be able to find another Julian Alvarez like they found him I guess 4 years ago, the player with a similar profile?
I don't think so because Alvarez, even though I mean he played a lot of games for us last time because Haaland was injured for some time in the season. So Alvarez stepped up and then he took the striker spot. Even when Haaland was playing, he would play cam or he would play a little deeper in the midfield. He was very versatile and we're definitely going to miss him and we're going to miss what he brought to the team. And as far as the backup goes, we definitely need a backup for Haaland. because we don't have a complete striker like Haaland on our team, except of course Haaland. If Haaland gets injured, or I mean, God forbid, or if he doesn't play, then we're gonna have wingers left. Like we had Savinho come in. He's an amazing player. He's another Riyad Mahrez regen. So hopefully he is not injured either. We have Oscar Bob. He's injured right now, but hopefully he gets better too. So we're gonna have to play something like false nine, like Holland, like Manchester City did before Holland came to the team. So another striker like that is gonna be hard to find, to be honest. I feel like they might have to get somebody from well, they we have pretty good players in our youth squad and players that did play in the preseason too. I don't know if we have a really amazing striker, but somebody like that could be definitely developed. Like if you look at Cole Palmer, he came from our youth academy, and now he's doing amazing. He won the PFA Young Award, best youngest player award. So right now, I feel like it's going to be hard to find a really amazing striker. And I feel like it's getting a little too late in the transfer season to find one either. Hopefully, Holland doesn't get injured, but if he does get injured, I feel like we have a lot of forward players that can come up and then help out. And especially with Gundo coming back, he's not. I mean, of course, he's not a striker, but he can still play cam and then hopefully help us out. We're gonna have to play something like a false nine if Holland is injured.
Okay, okay. So for us, now I would have next question for you. So when we are playing football at the topmost level, like in the case of City and Arsenal, okay, so at this level, there's this, like you can say, fierce battle from position to position. Okay, each position matters, tactics matter a lot. Even if a slight player profile is changed, the whole team is affected. So in Arsenal ranks, we have this new player, Riccardo Calafiori from, I guess, Bologna, in Italy, if I'm not wrong, or Caligari. I'm not sure, but obviously he's joined, and lately we have been hearing that he might start in the place of either Zinchenko or as part of the back four, where Arsenal would obviously be starting then three center backs and one recognized fullback. So do you think that Kelly Fury would change Arsenal's build-up approach in one way or another? Or do you think it's gonna stay the same and he would be the backup for the likes of Saliba and Gabriel?
No, I think eventually he will replace Zinchenko in the starting lineup. Although I do believe that Zinchenko is good offensively, making the playing out from the back. But Zinchenko has clear defensive weaknesses, and Fury is certainly a better defender than Zinchenko, and he also has that physicality uh, in him with his height and all. So I guess he is both good offensively and as well as defensively. So I guess Arteta will eventually ease him into the squad in the starting lineup. Yeah, I don't think he'll rush him straight away.
Okay, so Nofil, this is my last question for you. So as you mentioned earlier that Pep Guardiola hasn't signed the new contract, and obviously for me, for someone who has followed that 2009 to 2012 Barcelona, uh, like most of the games. So for me, Pep Guardiola is my favorite manager despite having Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. I mean, Pep Guardiola, he is the master of all tacticians. So do you think like this is the last of those seasons where City would be considered favorite? Because I believe that even if an other manager comes in, he won't be able to replicate the success that Pep Guardiola has brought in. I mean, there are other great managers, but Pep Guardiola is almost as if he brings in guaranteed success. I mean, league title, it's like assured, a trophy is assured. So do you think like it's the last of the rides, or whosoever comes in, he's gonna follow in the similar footsteps to Pep Guardiola and keep you guys winning?
100% it's gonna be the first season after Pep is gonna be the hardest season in the last few years of Manchester City. Because first off, after Pep leaves, everybody's going to have an eye on Manchester City and who gets the spot and how they're going to perform. Secondly, whoever the manager is, he's going to have to fill in Pep Guardiola's shoes. And those shoes are pretty big because he's an amazing manager, and we know what he's done with Manchester City, even before City, at Barca, at Bayern, even if he had like 2 to 3 years over there. But still, there isn't a tactical mind like Pep in the business right now. So whoever comes in, I don't even know who's going to be a replacement for Pep right now. Whoever the manager is, he's going to have to be really strong-willed, and he's going to have a mind that can handle pressure. Hopefully, our scouting system is pretty good. Our management is very decent as well because we've been getting really amazing players, and we haven't had a mess up unless you consider Calvin Phillips, who is Calvin Phillips. But other than that, all the players that we brought in, they've been pretty amazing. They gel in with the team. We only have a few exceptions. The only exception I can think of right now is Cancelo, who doesn't gel with the manager, and that's about it. Everybody else comes in and they form a really good immersive part of the team. So, but again, almost all of it depends on Pep and how he manages his team. Whoever comes in has to be able to take those reins. Is definitely, I don't think City is going to be a favorite after that. Hopefully, the manager is able to replicate a small portion of the success that Pep has done, and the management team is able to bring that manager up to speed. Hopefully, Pep renews for a couple more seasons too. I don't think he is going to do that, but hopefully he does. And I don't know, if I was Pep Guardiola, I would also think about this, that there isn't a good team to go to right now. Like Barcelona, I can understand, but right now Barcelona is complete, absolute trash. If you can let a player like Gundogan go for free, like how can you? Why would a manager like Pep want to go to Barcelona? So I don't think there's another team that Guardiola could have an eye on unless he retires at the end. So I feel like Guardiola should definitely reconsider his contract and hopefully renew for at least 3 to 4 years more. But we'll see how it turns out. But it's going to be hard after Pep leaves.
Okay, okay. So for us, this question was the question I had from Nofil, that this was assuming that Pep will leave. But let's say there's a case that Pep stays, he signs a new contract. So here I have a couple of questions for you. So what does Pep staying means for Arsenal? Because obviously Pep stays, there's going to be this Manchester City versus Arsenal rivalry for more years. I mean, Pep will definitely assemble the next great City team. So number one question is that, and in case Pep stays and the City dominance continues, what does it mean for the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Havertz, Declan Rice? So because knowing that City is still gonna be there, and they can have go at the titles. I mean, finishing second for as much good and like praiseful it is, but still it's not nothing like winning the title itself. So what does Pep staying means for Arsenal itself, and what are the implications gonna be?
Uh, yeah, obviously, if Pep stays on for a couple of more years, then he has all the squad at his disposal, and it will be more difficult to win the league as a couple of more young players, promising players in their City squad, like Oscar Bob, and they'll probably sign a few more. They'll get the chance to work with Pep a little more, and yeah, as you just mentioned, that all of us love seeing Pep Guardiola's teams play, but obviously, if we see that with respect of our own teams, then Pep is a really tough competitor to win a league against, uh, against, and I guess yeah, it will be tough. quite tough, and finishing second doesn't really people don't really
Naz,
remember
here's the
the
thing. Here's the thing. I
journey.
mean, finishing second, that's good and all, but I feel like the players like Martinelli, Saka, even Havertz and Rice, they'd be thinking like, okay, we are staying here. We are finishing second for like 2 to 3 good years, and if this big white blue machine isn't stopping anytime soon, that what's even the point of staying here? And even I guess last season, Saka had this contract issue as well, where he wasn't signing initially, so there were speculations that he might leave. So I personally feel like that if Pep stays, so there would come a point where the current crop of Arsenal players, even though the core is young, they have got some like 4 to 5 years in them. But I feel like they'll get fed up that okay, this is it, and it's not working out. I mean, from a winning point of view, and we shall move on.
Yes,
So
you're right. After a certain point, I guess the second place or third place finishes or qualify for the Champions League won't really matter. And I guess a lot of pressure is on Arteta as well to deliver a big trophy this time. And we don't really know if his job is safe if he fails to deliver a big trophy once again. So I guess yeah, it's a bit confusing, but you're right. These players will also have the same thoughts that despite trying so much, we are unable to win the Premier League.
You know what the best option would be? Since Pep is leaving, um, Arteta should come back to City because he already has history with City, right? And he'll get a winning team. He'll start winning the matches. All the players can leave Arsenal if they need to. And like, I feel like people who leave Arsenal have good luck. If you look at Zaka, he went to Bayern Leverkusen and he won the Bundesliga after so many years. So maybe they'll have amazing luck if they go. So Arteta should just come over to City and Pep retires, and you guys get whatever manager you get. Like you're not gonna win anyway, so you know that's a win-win for everybody.
one day if Arsenal wins, Fraz gonna go absolutely berserk on you, Nofel.
Well, we'll see when
Let's
that day comes.
let's just wait for that day. So, boys, with that being said, let's just close this podcast, this preview podcast. So, and let's hope for a wonderful Premier League season that isn't like you can say destroyed or disrupted by those filthy VAR decisions. I really hope that referees and all that stuff, everything is fair. So, with that being said, let's just close this one. Close this one. See you both in the next one. And thank you so much, viewers, for watching all this. And once again, I would like to request you all to follow and subscribe our channel, Sports Panther, for more such insightful videos on football and other sports. Goodbye.